Yeah.
I am Todd from GoodCleanFunLife.com.
And I am Tony Russo from MotionCity.com. And we're back for real.
We're back this time.
Hello out there, hopefully at iTunes. I feel like if you're listening to this, you're listening to it on iTunes. If not, then it's just me listening in my living room, cursing myself for something that I screwed up on the audio.
Oh, the humanity.
It's tough. It's tough. The last 2 weeks, the last 4 weeks, we've done 2 of the last 4 podcasts, but I've ruined both of them.
So it's been, you said like it's a six week stretch, but that seemed outlandish. But yeah,
it's been a while.
If you ruined 2,
yeah,
and I didn't show up for the other 4,
yeah, that's a problem.
That's about how it goes.
But we're back on track, and thanks for listening, thanks for watching, thanks for tuning in. If you'd ever like to join us, a couple announcements. If you'd ever like to join us, we are now back at doing live, not live, but public. I think public
okay.
is better than live.
The public space will have us back,
right? We found a home at Pit Stop in Berlin, which I didn't even know had a bar, and I went over there. I was doing a different podcast and I needed a beer, and so I knew that they had a good selection, so I went over, because the thing is that I wanted a bottle of craft beer, and they're not always very easy to come by, but I knew that they have at the Pit Stop because they have this huge selection. So I went over there, and as I was making my selection, somebody walked up, and I'm like, there's a bar here. And I went upstairs, and it's the coolest little bar, and come see us and you can find out. But it's it's got like 8 seats, 10 seats, it's got couches, it's got, pub tables.
Yeah. And, nice. It's really, it's pretty neat looking too.
Yeah, it is.
It's very cozy.
Very cozy.
Yeah.
And it's in the loft. So you feel like you're kind of in the anti speakeasy, instead of in the basement. It's in the loft. It's in the attic.
It's held up on high.
Right. So I asked them, I'm like, hey, would you care if we came and did a podcast? And
their first question was, what's a podcast?
No, the dude behind the counter was real excited.
Really?
Yeah. He knew what a podcast was.
Huh.
He knew that they were cool to have in live places. And he was like, yeah, absolutely. And he's like, wait, it's not my decision.
Oh, good. But you had an advocate that was selling to the decision maker.
Absolutely. And then I spoke with the decision maker yesterday. Her name is Laura, and she was super cool about it. And she's like, so you just want to sit there? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, we don't need to do anything.
Right.
Like, no. I'm like, well, we would like it if you provided 3 beers, 1 for us and 1 for the guest, because that way.
Well, I thought it was 3 for each of us.
Probably not. And I'm like, you know what, you that's all. And she's like, yeah, that is super cool. There's no problem. We're happy to have you. So they seem excited about it.
That's awesome.
And that makes me real excited about it. So that will be November 9th. You're listening to this likely on November 1st or 2nd, the first Monday in November. This should be out. And then following that, we will be out every Friday. And what we'll be doing is we'll be rounding up Friday, what's going on for the weekend. We'll round up what we did the previous weekend. And if we have a guest who's plugging something the following week, it's 3 weeks of entertainment in only half an hour, which you can't beat it.
I mean, we've been doing it, like we said, for coming up on 5 years. I'm pushing it. We're saying 5 years.
That's fine.
And yeah, we have it pretty well dialed in, I think. So this is what, like the 6th reiteration of what we're doing, and I think this will be the best.
That's what I said. I said to Todd in the email. I'm like, well, it's been a couple months. I think it's time to redo the podcast again. But I'm excited about this one because we more know what we're doing, and also we're gonna have a good venue, and I think superior microphones.
And I also listen to podcasts now.
Yes, that was something that you never did before.
I mean, it's true that I've always believed in it, and I've always enjoyed doing it, but I was not quite the active listener. I used to listen to the Lowell and Mark show, my buddy Lowell out of Baltimore, and pick up little things here and there. But because work has been a little bit more busy, and we're driving to and fro places,
right?
Putting a podcast on has been a good thing for both. Natalie and I have been enjoying them, and I started the other one with Dewey Raw,
right?
And it's been fun.
It's important to have a place to kind of get things out in a way that people who are looking for them will find them. I think we can say with utter confidence, or certainly the oldest podcast on the Eastern Shore. I think there might be some now. I know I do 2 other ones.
But I think we have to be.
Certainly the oldest.
It's certainly the longest running.
And also and even longer than there are a couple radio stations who have podcasts, but I think what the radio stations tend to do is take what they put on the air and replay it on the internet.
Yeah, that's not fair.
It's fair. I don't know. I mean, not a radio guy, right? Yeah. So I don't know how much of that I would listen to. I'm like, oh well, I missed a bunch of commercials during morning drive time today. Let me check back in
right.
and see, if there's a sale at Kroger's or whatever. See how I took a cheap shot at nobody around here.
That's good.
I'm getting better at that.
You're gonna have to if we're gonna have guests. You're gonna have to not insult 50% of the population.
So I do a writer's podcast with Stephanie Fowler. It's called So What's Your Story? You can listen to that if you're listening to this.
Oh, ding ding.
Ding ding.
We should have them as a guest.
Oh, she already asked.
Okay.
But we had there's a writing organization that I'm not nuts about. And like when a member of that organization is on, she's like, just keep your mouth shut. Just shush. Because the first time I'm like, oh yeah, this is the reason that I hate them. And she was just mortified. And she's like, just don't.
Oh, just be quiet.
Just shush. Yeah. So
well, that's good. That's an important muscle to exercise.
That's the only muscle I have left to exercise. Because I have a 6-pack ab, you see.
Just a single.
Yes. So that's it. You're all up to date now. So please,
we're gonna be looking for guests.
We're gonna be looking for guests. So please reach out, and also give us a review. That's the other thing that I didn't even know that was something that we were supposed to push when we first started doing this. But if you give us a review on iTunes, then more people will hear it and more people will like it, and then you'll be you can be a Todcast hipster.
Yeah. Did you know that I read an article?
I don't believe you for a second.
The second, did you know, is they're talking about how the popularity of podcasts has always, been steady and continues to grow. But there's more people who are listening to podcasts than there are people listening to Spotify, which I kind of found to be pretty incredible. I think there's probably the amount of content that's out there is overwhelming. And there's some good stuff and there's some bad stuff, but certainly we're the best.
Clearly.
Around here.
I think about why I listen to podcasts as opposed to music, because it occurred to me that I hardly ever. I listen to music, like I'll listen to classical music when I'm working. Sometimes, like I'll watch television when I'm running, exercising, on the elliptical. But like if I'm lifting weights, I'll listen to I have 3 albums on my, I have 3 albums on my iPhone. I listen to podcasts all the time. It's because you feel like you're part of a conversation.
Right.
And if you're having these, and I'm not accusing you of being lonely, I'm accusing me of being lonely. But if you have these kind of lonely, like I write, and I interview, I interview a couple people a week, but I spend a lot of time in the car by myself.
Right.
And I want to feel like I'm engaged with something. And one of the things that I think we do well, if I can pat us on the back in advance, is we're like, hey, you may not be at the beach, but this is what's going on at the beach. This is why you like the beach. All of these things, we put people kind of in touch with that. And we talk about that. And I think that makes them feel like they're part of something. And people who listen to podcasts are the kind of people who want to feel part of something.
Right. They're lonely people.
they're just in the car.
They're in the car. No,
it's tough.
And I think that's maybe, if I can be presumptuous, say that's why it hasn't been something that is necessarily caught on around here, because there aren't a whole lot of commutes.
Yeah, no, everyone who commutes also does a podcast.
Yeah. Do we talk about the guys down at Wallops Island? I've talked to, I got a friend who works down there, and he's like, I love podcasts. That's what I do when I drive down.
Right. We can pitch them. We have, for the other podcast that I've been doing now for 2 years, is the beer podcast I've been doing for 2 years. We have 37 subscribers.
Whoa.
And I think 36 of them work at Wallops.
Oh, okay. So yeah, you started that conversation.
Right. Yeah.
Yes. I think that's fantastic.
Because that's a 2 hour. You'll even listen to me talk about homebrewing, of which I know nothing. If you get to spend 2 hours in the car.
And the other reason we do podcasts, you and I, is because you just like the sound of your own voice.
Me for sure, yes. Yeah. I love the sound of my own voice. And there's only so much I can write, and there are some things, because I write a lot too, and there are some things that they're not long enough for a story. They're not there's no good angle for them. It takes too much, like I use a lot of inflection, and it might take too much inflection, or it might not take more, because if you write something, it's got to be 350 words at least. I try to write about 5.
Right.
I don't have 500 words to say about, like, this podcast is all the things that we can say in 200 words,
Right.
but just 1,000 of them.
Right.
So,
and usually about 750 of your words
Yes.
and 250 of mine.
Absolutely. Which is like, whoa.
No, it's good. Oh, so obviously this being the reboot, we've now sold everybody on why
Right.
they should be listening to podcasts, and
Which is weird because they're already listening.
yeah, right. Yeah,
If
preaching
you-
to the choir
yeah,
here.
right.
Move on. What's next?
Yeah, if you made it this far, then this is how this show goes. Well, one cool thing we try to talk about, one cool thing that we each do each week. Probably tons of cool things that we've done over the last 6 weeks or whatever since we've been kind of doing the reboot thing. I'm just back from Deep Creek Lake.
Oh yes, I saw the pictures. Love that place.
Yes, in Western Maryland. I drank so much. I'm literally on the wagon for this week. My wife and I got home, and I'm like, you know what? I probably won't drink on Sunday, and I did. Like, we drank from, let's say, 11 a.m. to 1 o'clock Saturday.
Yeah,
and we were home by 4 o'clock Sunday. I'm like, I'll go down the wagon tomorrow. So then Monday I was on the way, but we went to Oakland, Maryland. And there was this pizza place there called Tom and Eddie's, and it was just like, reopened. The uncle sold it to the sister or whatever.
right.
And so we were the only people in there because they just changed their hours to being open at lunch, right? Because the last time we were there, we're like, oh, let's go here, and it was closed. Like, it's a pizza place,
right?
How is it closed for lunch? And I was a little mad. But the only reason we chose the place is because it was literally the only place that had beer.
Yeah.
Like, and we looked through the window and we're like, do they have beer? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Go.
Thumbs up.
So we sat down, we had a bunch of beer, we ate a bunch of pizza, and then we walked around until we were able to drive, and then we drove home, and we had a bunch of booze,
a bottle of wine, and
a bottle of bourbon. Yeah, that's our thing.
Is Kelly on the wagon this week too?
Yeah, we both. We both.
I didn't know if it was like imposed by
No.
this is a mutual decision.
Well, I was talking to my workmates here in the office today, and once every couple months, I feel like I want to take a week off to make sure I still can.
Yeah, right. No,
I feel better knowing that. Yeah, no, I'm not irritable. I'm not jittery,
Yeah.
And that just gives me license to give me carte blanche to drink myself into a stupor every night, as long as one week every 4 months. Yeah, I can. It's usually after a bender. Like this was a bender, but it's a good place to have a bender because a lot of there's like resorts and stuff. So
because there's cliffs and things.
if your only plan is to sit and drink and look at stuff and look at the view, then just pick the right place.
Right. Have a good view. The
downside is if you really want to do that, like we have to rethink our plans for next year because there are no taxis. Like there's one guy who has a taxi, and if he doesn't feel like working, then you're done. Right.
Well, and do they still have blue laws in Garrett County?
I don't know. I brought my own booze.
So this is my family used to have a cabin up there, and we used to vacation up there all the time. Go skiing up at Wisp, do the.
Oh, that's right there.
Yeah, do the lake during the summer, all of that. We went up there with friends several years back, and it was Super Bowl Sunday, and so we were all excited. We had a cabin over towards, I think, what's it called, Fort McHenry or something like that,
right?
And we went over to the Honey Bar. And we bellied up. It's all right. I'm like, wow, there's nobody here for the Super Bowl. This is cool. We got great spots at the bar. Sit down. I'll have a tall one. No, you won't.
Not today.
So fortunately, we were close enough that we could go over the state line into Pennsylvania, and we found this tiny little place called Bob and Candy's. What was the name of the pizza place?
Tom and Eddie's.
Okay, so maybe that's maybe they're cousins.
Yeah, maybe.
And sure enough, right over the Maryland line in Pennsylvania at Bob and Candy's, we had we had some Iron City and watched the Tennessee Titans lose by a foot. Because I think that was that Super Bowl.
It really is at the point of Maryland because you're equidistant from West Virginia and Pennsylvania. There.
Right.
West Virginia is a 20-minute drive or something from Oakland, which is so there's you were in McHenry. I've been to the Honey Bar.
Yes.
We went there. It was not. It wasn't. they were serving beer.
Yeah.
Like and it's
I played Dance Dance Revolution at the Honey Honey Bar.
crazy.
I think it goes way back.
I feel like, and I say this on the beer podcast, so I'll say it again in about 24 hours, but I feel like I don't want to be the jerk that says I'm not eating here because you don't have booze. Like, why? Don't be a cheapskate. There are two ways you shouldn't be a cheapskate. I mean, unless you have a breakfast place. Like if you close at 4, fine. And I get there for lunch and you don't have beer. I get it. You're closing at 4. There, you're not. But it's don't charge me for using a credit card, right? Because that's cheap thing number 1.
Yeah.
And 2, don't open a dinner restaurant and not get a liquor license and something like bring your own.
Right.
Oh, we don't do that.
Hashtag save day drinking.
Hashtag save day drinking. And that is for sure. But that was the most exciting thing that happened to me this week. There's a ton of other stuff, but I should let you talk for a while so I could breathe.
Well, I had a pretty good, cool thing, and that was last Thursday. We had a service industry wedding. So
I saw that on the internet. Yeah.
Yeah. So some friends of ours, Nate Todd, who's been down at Backshore Brewing, which is now or formerly Shore Billy,
right,
down on the boardwalk. He got married to his girlfriend Gina, and you have all of the industry folks that you want to have come to your wedding. So you have to have it on a Thursday because that's not the work week for them. And it was a great event. Sort of outdoorsy, and I love that Nate Todd has a strong affinity for Star Wars, just as myself. So during the cocktail hour, because we were there doing pictures and video, and we're off with the family taking some pictures, and everybody is getting their drink on in the tent, and they had the Cantina music playing
that's fun
on a loop, and it's fun. I think it's a great idea, but I think after about like a half hour,
changes.
It's like, okay, DJ Wax, maybe we can let's move this along just a little bit,
because I don't think you realize how also you're working, and I don't think you realize how frenetic music like that is if you're trying to get stuff done. When I was a kid, I played the piano and I would practice ragtime. Like everybody, like I would get ready to leave. Let's say it's Sunday and they're going to church, and I'd get ready to leave so I could practice, and I'd be playing like the just ragtime music. I'm not going to sing it. It's even worse when I sing it. And everybody else is running around the house getting ready. And like my mother would grab me and be like, knock it off. And, in retrospect, she wasn't irritated that I was playing poorly. She was irritated that I was playing ragtime while everyone was bouncing off the walls trying to get stuff done. Like, it's cool if you're all hanging around and you're dancing or if you're just drinking. But if you're trying to focus and someone's playing a lot of ragtime in the background, that's tough. Yeah. And so I can imagine be like, hey, no, smile. No. Hey, look at dee.
But it was a great wedding, and so it's fun to have bartenders that are working in town, working the bar there, and great family. They were her family's from the Philly area, so loud, fun, just good people. So it was definitely an enjoyable wedding to be a part of, and happy to have done that for them. Got some great pictures and video too.
Very cool. And now, of course, so for this weekend, I'm being at the beer festival.
Yes.
So the Surecraft Beer Festival is Saturday. We're all there. We sold a bunch of tickets. It's gonna be beautiful. Those are the two things I was worried about. I'm wary of the outdoor events. Like we do one at Secrets in February. That's great because even if it snows, everybody kind of comes in by bus anyway, and everybody kind of leaves.
Right.
And there's a roof.
And it feels kind of outside, but it's definitely not.
Right. And what's really fun is last year we had it last weekend. What would have been last weekend, and I was really against pushing it back another week, and we did, and it rained last weekend, and I'm like, we are just dodging bullet after bullet. But yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. Lots of beer out there. What's weird to me is I don't enjoy them as much when I have to, like, it's like, yeah, you're working to be around. Like, yeah, I really don't drink as much as I would like to, because I'm doing. I mean, you do this every Friday, so
right.
You're running around. You're like, oh, I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to do the other thing. What do you mean it's last call?
Yeah. I just got
I
here.
just got here.
Yeah.
But if you're not me and you won't have to be taking pictures, it's a fun thing to do. We have Shiloh and
Oh, Alex.
Alex.
Shiloh and Alex.
Yeah, Shiloh and Alex. And it's funny. I've said this before, and I like them, and they're really good. And they're the kind of act that I like because as we say, I listen to podcasts. I'm not huge into music.
Right.
I want the music to be like, if I want to be engaged, then they're playing something cool and I can dance or I can sing or I can hang out. But I don't want them like walking up behind me and screaming at me like, why aren't you listening to me? I'm an artist. I get it. They are artists. They're very talented folks, but they're not so in your face that you can't stand it. Like, I would really like to not have to worry about you right now.
Yeah.
I just want to hang out with my friends and talk.
Right. I don't want to feel bad.
Right. I don't want to feel bad. Like, why aren't you paying attention to me?
Yeah.
So they do that well. They play Salisbury a lot. They play a lot of the third Fridays and all. It's always a pleasure to see them.
Yeah. It's actually been a while since I've seen them. That would be a good show.
Yeah.
And then on Sunday, we have, if you want to fall off the wagon even more.
All the way off. Yeah.
All the way off. We have our, we call it the fall beer tasting, but I hate pumpkin beers.
Right.
I don't hate it's as much of a stance as it is anything at this point.
It's a matter of principle.
It's a matter of principle. So we're doing a fall tasting. We're actually going to have some craft sodas because we got a bunch of people who are on the wagon for various reasons. So we're going to be doing that over at our house, and that's always a good time. So I think we did a podcast last year.
We did a podcast that came up on my. So I know that I'm the last person on the planet that's on Google Plus, but something
the last remaining person.
Right. So something that all of you should know is that Google Plus has been doing the reminders, the yearly reminders every year for like a long time. They're like, this time last year you were doing this, and increasingly Facebook looks like it. Like, they make movies. They're like, hey, we found these pictures on your camera. You want to talk about it? It's like, it's for those of you who use those, who's me. Really, if you think about how much more the Facebook experience is becoming like the Google Plus experience, you want to beat everyone to death who refused to join you on Google Plus, because we could be on a better platform doing better things.
Yes,
instead of
And I get more and more tired of Facebook. So now, basically, if I guess the record companies are cracking down on any video that you put out there.
Oh, you said that. I didn't get to talk to you about that.
And even to the point where I hear stories from, girls who are taking videos of them and their girlfriends dancing at a club, and there's a song in the background. Not like the #1 song of 2016, but like Madonna, Holiday.
Right.
She doesn't need another 7 cents from the 2 views that are going to click. But they're putting the kibosh on uploading stuff, and it's weird. So all of the videos that we've done for the Starbird that has third-party content, I've always done live performances of the acts that play there,
right?
Most of which are cover bands. So they're doing cover songs. Crowd loves it. Everybody, and I was always operating under the pretense, which is wrong, that if it's a live, you can perform live and it's copyright protected, but you can't necessarily record a live performance because there's still some copyright there.
Yeah, if it's I think the only exception is if the band was paying like their ASCAP dues. But if they try to make money off of it, they have to get released.
Right.
So and that's what where it becomes complicated is like if I'm at a concert, then yes. They can always have you. They can always, like, if I'm filming someone who doesn't want to be filmed, they can always have me take it down.
Right.
But if I'm filming someone who wants to be filmed, it's a lot harder for them, for the artist to get me to take it down, and the artist doesn't care because it's not. Yeah, they're not missing that royalty at all.
Right.
So it would be the record company or the YouTuber. That's again, what I do? I make my own stuff and I listen to podcasts. I listen to people make their own stuff, and there's no worry about like, did I? No. And if I say something that someone else said, then they'll be like, hey, you said that and I said that, and I'd be like, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And I probably would be sorry because I would never do that on purpose, although
because you
often I
never
do by
want to.
accident.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean that's just kind of the stuff going forward is like we'll see how it all turns out. But yeah, I've always been a big proponent of creating original content,
Absolutely.
and this is certainly part of that whole.
Yeah, and
idea.
making we talked about this a couple weeks ago, but you probably didn't see it. So we'll tell you now. There's something, I don't know, no, I am self-satisfied. Yes. What I meant to say is there's something satisfying about, I make stuff like
Right.
as they talk about more and more about how robots can do most jobs.
Yeah.
They're really going to have a lot of trouble doing mine because I go to places and I say what it was like to be a person there.
Right.
And robots just can't do it.
Right.
Robots, you can go to Google Earth, but you're not going to hear that, the pizza at Tom and Eddie's was good for this reason, and I'll write a blog and I'll tell you why next week. No. But you're not going to hear about what it was like to be at a place. You can only see what a place looks like unless a human says what it was like to be at a place.
Right.
And I have a policy. Ever tell you my 3-star policy? Have we talked about this already?
It sounds familiar, but remind me.
The lowest ranking I ever give anything is 3 stars.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm not a professional, and B, I don't go to the same place 100 times.
Right. Like across the board business.
Yes.
All businesses.
Right.
Get a 3 stars
I give
out of like just have
out
to
of
be
5.
open.
Right. Well, if they're open and I don't die, like if I'm not poisoned, like if I'm poisoned, they'll probably say, "Hey, I got poisoned."
Right.
Or if they
don't do that again.
Or if it's something that's systemic, like one of my 2-star reviews or 1-star review is of a bagel place that sells stale bagels, and death penalty. Like if I'm the king and you serve me you get death
that's
penalty.
a trigger for you.
I have a problem.
I mean,
I have bagel issues.
Physically, your whole demeanor changed.
This was 4 years ago. I'm still furious.
I can't. And they did it more than once, didn't they?
They did it all the time, and I'm like, if they give me a stale bagel this time, I'm gonna lose my shit. And they gave me, and I yelled at the owner, and I like right in his face, and I made him throw the bagels out in front of me. I'm like, that's right, it's trash. Put it in the trash. It was crazy. There were only like 60 people online.
Oh.
It was a Saturday morning at 7:00.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was.
Can we recreate that?
I think I really just did.
Like a behind the music.
But
Tony Russo.
But with the exception of that, I feel like everybody who's waited has had a bad day and has not done their best job. Everyone who's cooked has had a bad day and has not done their best job.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the waiter and the cook aren't having their best day. But was the place open? Were they making an effort? Did they poison you? Like if I didn't like the food,
right,
then I just don't have to go back. But I don't have to tell people that this place is awful. Because it wasn't awful. I mean, it was open. I didn't get rained on, I didn't see any rats. I mean, I think below 3 stars can't be for service or quality unless you go there regularly.
So I should say we picked up a couple new clients, the Bethany Blues and Lewis and in Bethany, but we work with a bunch of restaurants and we get a lot of, reviews. And I think it's always interesting when, it'd be like somebody going to the Bethany Blues and being like, 2 stars. They didn't have a good fish option, which is actually funny because they do have a good fish option.
Right.
But you know what I mean? It's a barbecue place.
Right. I didn't know that at all.
Or you want now you do.
Now I do.
But if you heard of a place and you saw right. 99 sea level, if you look at it online and you can see it has white tablecloths and you have the option to look at a menu before you walk in, there's one at the door, there's one online, and unless it's like a portion size doesn't fit the price, it's fine dining. You can't complain about pricing.
Right. Again, I think
stale bagels, that's a whole different.
Oh, you have no idea. I have no idea. And again, if you're not going to a place regularly, I think you owe them the benefit of that just because it's a public thing,
Right.
And well, that's one of the things is, so I do the Google reviews. I'm one of I'm a Google guide, and I have all sorts of superpowers. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So
They're just trying to keep you on Google Plus.
I'm the only one left.
We can't lose Tony.
Well, it's funny because I was at Tom and Eddie's and they had just changed their menu, and then when I got home, I saw that the hours were wrong. And I'm like, well, let me fix that. And I just fixed their business hours.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I'm like, they are open for lunch. They
Right.
open at 11 now. But because my face is attached to it, that's another really important thing. I got to cover a beer tasting, beer judging, and that made me start to think about the reason that I thought about this 3-star thing. And at the beer judging, everybody writes down their score, but then they have to justify their score to the other judges, not to the guy who made the beer.
Right.
But they had to say, hey, I thought that I gave this a 6 for this reason. I gave this a 4 for this reason. And I think they're on a 100-point scale. So I'm getting the numbers wrong. But when you have to say something publicly and then you have to justify it with your face and your right.
Yeah.
It makes you take it a little bit more seriously. And then when you're taking it seriously, when this is my professional face, this is my professional email, this is my professional opinion.
Sure.
You want to be at least even-handed.
Yeah.
And if something is good, you want to if something is good, you want to rave about it. So I give a lot of 4s.
And how many times do you read a review of somebody else's and you just go, this guy's an asshole?
Yeah, or they're mad. Yeah.
I mean, like,
clearly angry.
I do like some of the bars we work for, and you get a drunken 2:30 in the morning. I got thrown out and I'm pissed.
Yeah.
It's like, well,
yeah,
you look like an asshole. You probably deserved it.
And no one doubts that. We are running a little long. We're running long because we talked about things that we won't.
We had 6 weeks to catch up.
Right. We had 6 weeks to catch up on, and we won't talk every week about what we're going to do every week before we do it. So that said, let's run down. Do you have anything coming up? I told you we got the beer festival, and I think that's enough for me.
Halloween party at the Starboard on Saturday night. Our beer tasting on Sunday. Should be a good time over at 6 Baker Street at the Crowbar.
Right. All right. Well, and then you got anything else?
I got nothing.
All right. May Todd give you the sense to live in a small town.
We'll see you next week at happy hour.
Cheers.
I was going to say hump day.
Yeah, or like a little bit before happy hour, actually.
Yeah.